In this video, we're going to take a look at a blue ink by Private Reserve Electric DC Supershow Blue. Now, as always, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around, but if you've got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. Also, down in the description is a link to the blue ink playlist, so if you wanted to see more of them, you can find that there. I'm an ink guy, and let's get into the first writing sample done on 90 GSM Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. We get no feather, spread, halo sheen. We do get some incredible amount of shading from a dark to a super dark in the stub, in the extra fine, and in the medium. It really, this is a beautifully shading dark blue. The extra fine took 9 seconds to dry, medium took 16. Now the scrubby for both aren't really showing the color variation because it's just coming through as so dark, but you definitely see it in the writing. There's something you see there that's beautiful. The smear test you probably could not recover if you smeared while you were writing. To have a range of experience with this ink, all of the writing samples are done with a Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a medium, and a Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. Then a Parker Jotter with a medium nib was inked up, used for a day, and used to take the notes for this video. The next writing sample is done on 52 GSM Tomoe River. No bleeding, but significant ghosting. We have no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shading on this paper. The extra fine took 14 seconds to dry while the medium took 30. The scrubby for both give no color variation. We're really not getting it. And the smear test you still could not recover if you smeared while you were writing. I agree with Vita. There's a lot to learn by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down, and then it's put in the water for 10 to 15 seconds. And all I see here is a very dark blue that's really pushing its way up, gathering at the top. Even with the one on the right that was allowed to dry for 10 minutes, it looks exactly the same, and I don't expect any kind of resistance from this ink. The next writing sample is done on 80 GSM Tomoe River. We get no bleeding, little bit of ghosting. It's very dark ink. We have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. We do get that shading, that it's super dark, almost black, to a very dark blue, to an almost black. Beautiful in the extra fine, not so much in the stub, and we still see it showing up in the medium. Gorgeous. Extra fine took 8 seconds to dry, while the medium took 17. Scrubby for both aren't giving us any color variation, but it's definitely there in the writing. Now the smear test, I do not think you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. The smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, I would not use this in a note-taking situation because of the amount of loss that I would probably have in my notes. Not surprising from what we see happening with water, which is reactivating and lifting almost all the ink off. We're really seeing a lot of the white of the paper coming through, and it only had 30 seconds there. Now, pen flesh is doing slightly more than water did, but since it only took water to get it out of my pen, I don't think you're going to need much more yourself. 1/3 bleach solution completely obliterates it. The next writing sample is done on monokaki paper. No bleeding, but some significant amount of ghosting. We have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade for the stub, no shade for the medium, but the extra fine is definitely showing some of that super dark to dark. Some of that super dark to super dark. It looks so good here. Extra fine took 7 seconds to dry, medium took 13. Scrubby for both give no color variation because it's just that dark. But it is in the extra fine. Now the smear test, you could not recover if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average viscosity is 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Private Reserve's Electric DC Supershow Blue has a viscosity of 1.46, so it's quite wet. If you're interested in how the viscosity tests and all that stuff's done, then down in the description are links to those videos. The next writing sample is done on moleskin paper. We have quite a bit of bleed heavy into the paper, not through the paper. not touching the page on the underside, but all of this amount of spotting, and I wasn't going to, but I am going to now because I'm not sure if on the extra fine it really shows up as well on camera as it should. But there is no using the back of this page in either the medium or the fine. I think it would be just too distracting to read back. Now, looking at the medium and the extra fine, we get feathering in both. Not horrible for a pocket notebook, but if this is where you were really taking some serious notes in a larger version, this might be a problem. We have no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. Only 3 seconds to dry for the extra fine. The scrubby gives no color variation. We don't get any. In the smear test, you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average dry time was 17 seconds, and the realm of normal was 13 to 21 seconds. Private Reserve's Electric DC Supershow Blue has an average dry time of 19 seconds, so it's normal. The last writing sample is done on 20-pound copy paper. A lot of bleeding, leading to a tremendous amount of show-through. When it came to with the medium, we definitely had a number of spots that touched the page underneath. So it does corrupt the next page with the extra fine, and it comes really close, corrupts the page underneath with the medium, and it comes really close to doing it with the extra fine. We do get feathering in both. Not horrible though, really, considering. We do get spread in both. Look at that medium. That medium's about like a broad. That fine is almost a medium. We have no halo sheen, no shade. It only took a second to dry for the extra fine. It had no color variation in the scrubbing. It had none in the writing. And the smear test, you can't smear it, so you don't have to worry about it. Instead of finding inks that look like Private Reserve's Electric DC Supershow Blue, I'd prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I went with an orange ink from Krishna, their Goldfish. Now, if you'd prefer a different complement color, then down in the description are links to those playlists. So what do I think of Private Reserve's Electric DC Supershow Blue? As dark as this writes, it still shades to super dark and does it really well. The best of the Private Reserve Supershow inks, in my opinion. One day, I might even get to go to a show. I've never been. I do like how this ink looks on the paper and all of the papers. So what nib and pen are going to give the best writing experience with this ink? I really like how it looks from a very wet fine or a medium flow broad. That medium flow broad puts down that great dark tone and has even more shading than anything else. But if you love that dark tone, and I kind of do here as well, then you would use a wet fine. I hope you got something out of this video, and in the next video, we're going to take a look at Diamine's Carnival.